YouTube. Okay, so this is part 2. This is an everything you need to know about Salamangreat guide. So, if you wanted to learn more about Salamangreat, the first video was just the Trap-a-Mangreat video, essentially. But this video is going to teach you everything you need and want to know about Salad. Okay. With that being said, here we go. Alright. So, So, let's go over it, shall we? Okay. So this is the list I'm currently on at the moment. But, again, this is just what I'm on. I'm going to explain everything and why I play it. And then we'll talk about deck lists and matchups. Okay. So first, starting off, we have, this is the general deck list. You have, I'm going to put some notes on. Actually, can I? Yeah, I probably can. Let me go over so I can put notes on. I don't want to remove it, but I want to hide this. One sec while I fix this out. I'm going to put some notes over here because I think it's very important to have some notes because notes stabilize organization. Notes here. So we're going to talk about types of builds. Right now there is a trap build, which is the build you saw before. I think that build's more memey than anything, but it's a build. 2 is hand trap list. And 3 is mix of it. So I think this is like the 3 most common list builds you'll see. And I'm going to show you what 3 different builds look like. So right now, I think this is more of a hand trap favorite list. We're going to start by going over some of the text that you would see immediately in this kind of list. So in the hand trap list, we run Veiler, Crow, Mourner. Personally, right now, my favorite hand trap to run in Salad is probably Mourner. And the very simple reason for that is because Mourner, I feel, is incredibly strong right now. Because Mourner, what it does is it helps against Salad. So what you would do is negating something like Mirage Dahlia is really good. Also, negating like Sunrise is really good in the hero matchup. You can negate, I'll cover this more in the matchups, but you can negate Sunrise, you can negate Mirage Dahlia, you can negate Gazelle. There's a lot of things that are negatable. And if you go further, like Shaddoll, which is still meta, which you'll see on my updated tier list, Shaddoll has Winda that they summon. So with Winda, you have Mourner to negate Winda, and that's really good. Also, you have Veiler. I mean, Mourner can also negate things in other matchups as well. Like, another common matchup is something like, how should I say? What's another really good matchup for Mourner? Predaplant. So if you go up against something like Predaplant, you can negate Ambulum Melodus. You can even negate Darlingtonia Cobra. There's a lot of uses for Mourner right now in the meta. Now, you're probably going to say, well, Sean, if you think Mourner's so good, why not 3? The reason why is because I feel like Mourner, you don't want to open up multiple of it because then it's all hard once per turn for it. But overall, I think it's still a really strong hand trap for extra effect negation. Now, obviously, Effect Veiler is really strong because you can negate Stratos, Sunrise, and basically everything else. Normal summonable monsters as well as everything else I said with Mourner. Veiler is also really good. Another one thing I want to bring up about Mourner is Mourner can sometimes win games in Salad by itself. And the reason I say this is because Mourner inflicts burn damage, and you end up dealing some amount of damage too with Pyro Phoenix. So this Mourner damage could be bigger than you think. So let's say that you go second, right, into a Winda, and they summon out their Winda, and you Mourner it. Well, once you remove that Mourner off the field, they're gonna take burn damage. So if you Mirage it off the field, they're still gonna get burnt because it just says leaves the field. So even if you Mirage something, it doesn't have to be destroyed. You can deal them burn as well, which is very relevant. And it's also very relevant in something like the mirror match if they were to go Pyro Phoenix. Most of them don't, but if they do go Transcendence into a Pyro Phoenix on your turn and they decide to set up that way, then you could also mourner their Pyro Phoenix. So that's something you could say. Like, a lot of this, again, I'm going to go over in the matchup discussion, but this is some ideas of the text you could play. Obviously, Veiler you can't use on your turn. It has to be on your opponent's, but Veiler most of the time will do a lot of things that Mourner does. Now, Crow is another really good tech, especially for the mirror match, and birds. So right now, if I had to go, and I'm going to go back here. Let's see if I can. I don't think I can. But let's just say we were to talk about birds, right? What meta decks are in the meta right now? Let's go over this. And I know I'm hop skipping, I'm contracting myself here, but let's talk about the meta decks. Right now you have birds, you have heroes, you have Shaddoll, you have Salamangreat, you have Dragonmaid, which is kind of on the cusp of being meta. So, and Predaplant, I think I might have said it, but I'm not sure. Those are the main meta decks right now. So when I look at the meta, those are the decks I think about. Now, so I'm going to go over it one more time. Birds, Predaplant, Shaddoll, Salad, Hero. Right? And maybe a little bit of Dragonmaid. So, what uses would Crow be good against? Well, Crow is mainly good against the Salad, Mira, and Bird. Now, Bird is probably the toughest matchup for this deck. I originally thought it was going to be Hero. But actually, your turn 1 and turn 2 actually makes this, I feel, Hero, for the most part, Salamangreat favored. Unless Hero starts running exotic techs to beat it. Most of the time, I feel it's going to be Salamangreat favored, especially if Salad goes second. So that's something you're going to want to take a look at there. Now, the important thing about something like DD Crow is DD Crow is bad against Hero. That's the only reason why you run it. But you already have a favorable matchup in Hero. That's something you got to take into account, in my opinion. So, where would you run DD Crow in? Well, DD Crow is really, really good against the mirror match. And that's what I want you to focus on. So, Crow can win the mirror, and it can also win birds. It helps you beat your toughest matchup. Because generally, where you would struggle into bird is because bird, you would have to deal with Robin, which is, again, likely untargetable if they're smart enough. If they don't make it untargetable, yeah, it may be a little bit easier for you to out. Because, well, it's not really that much easier given this list, but depending on what text you run, if you ran Chalice or something like that, and they didn't make Robin untargetable, then yeah, you have additional outs, but most of the time they're going to make it untargetable. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, Crow really good against Bird, and it's really good in Salad Bear, and I'm going to talk more about how to use these hand traps as we go further on in the discussion. Now, going on further about the text, Droplet at 3 I feel is a must. I feel you definitely want 3 droplets. And the reason I say this is because Droplet is really good against Bird, and it's also really good in the fact that you're going to be drawing, you're going to start up the duel with 7 cards because you're discarding 1 for skill, and you start with a monster on the field and 2 extra cards in your hand. So you're going to start the duel with 7 cards. So essentially, you having a +2 means you can resolve Droplet for free, meaning that that's pretty much going to win you the game on its own. It's going to be a board breaker. So why wouldn't you play Droplet? The only reason Droplet would be bad into is Hero. But again, with things like Bird going around, even Predaplant, you definitely want Droplet because it's going to win those matchups. Even the mirror match, it could come up. And again, something like Shaddoll, definitely good to have Droplet in because Droplet will win the game against Shaddoll. Remember, whenever you build a deck, techs are meant to help you win against bad matchups. If the matchup is already in your favor, drawing any additional techs is a bonus. But if the matchup is not in your favor, then drawing these techs are going to help you win the matchup. And you got to evaluate what's your worst matchup. Right now, for Salad, I would say Bird going second is hardest. Going first, it's manageable. Going second, it's hardest. Well, I shouldn't even say it. Going first, it's not really that manageable. Because, again, you still need the tech cards. Because if you go first, then they could just beat you with Nightingale, and there's really not too much. Right? That's something else. Another thing you may not see me run in my list is something, well, that more gets into the core engine. We haven't gotten to the core engine yet, so never mind. Next is Crosswipe. I'm running 2. You can absolutely run 3. You can absolutely do that. I think Crosswipe is really, really good. And I think 2 is fine too, because like drawing multiple is not necessarily the best. It's okay, but again, like you're getting rid of a monster to pop a card in the field, which again, still really, really strong. But I think like at 2, it's fine. I think for the majority of the things that are there, that 2 is acceptable. Because sorry, I put back the crosswipe. Sorry about that. I misclicked. I just that way. So again, I think crosswipe is really good, and an instance like that, it's really good against Predaplant again to out the Robin, because their Robin will be targetable. And it's also really good against something like even Hero to out certain back row. But the reason why I don't view it as necessary is because a lot of times with Foul, you can out the back row already, and they have a lot of ways to deal with back row, and you have protection in the grave. But if you want to play more copies of it, you absolutely can. There is a world where I would definitely play 3. I like it at 3. It's also great turn 1 disruption. So I've gone back and forth between 3, but, you know, I do like it at 2 copies. It really depends. Now, next, another deck is Serapis, the Ancient Ascended. This is really good in Salad right now. It's really good in a deck that doesn't want to lose to Veiler. I know this is one of my boy Steven's favorite cards. It's very good to stop Veiler. Again, he also has a Salad video, so go check that out. Also, go check out Mechlord's Salad video and Bloom's. All of them have Salamangreat videos. I highly recommend you go check them out. And my boy Playmaker as well. I'll link you to the channel. But yeah, I think that, like I said, Sarvis is really, really strong in that regard. So, definitely very important to dodge Veil. Also can be used to stop Armed Dragon if you're going second and they were to target one of your monsters. A lot of people won't expect this, but I definitely play this at 2 at least. You can play it at 3 if you want to. I think 3 copies can definitely be warranted. If you're playing like a super aggro build. The only build I probably wouldn't run this in is the trap list. Because that's a deck filled with all traps, and you're probably gambling on it. Well, I guess you could anyway. You could just cut down like 3 traps if you want to play Sarapis. But yeah, it's very good. 2 to 3 copies I like personally right now. Okay, so that's pretty much that for the text portion of the hand trap list. So again, these are like just common text you would see. Now again, Crosswipe will be thrown into a lot of Salad lists, not just the hand trap version, or same as Droplet. But again, yeah, I think for a hand trap version, this is fine. Now, I'm gonna save this. This is like the hand trap version. We will go over extra decks very soon. Okay, so this is the trap version of the deck. This is, again, I'm going to turn back on my text. This is the trap version of the deck. Again, I think this version is more memey than anything else because you're going to lose to 1 Veiler. So, again, yeah, you do have a lot of beneficial, and you can swap out these traps in and out, blah, 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 whatever you want, etc., etc. But, you know, basically, you got your needles, you have your droplets for helping you go second. Needle stealing is also great to hero, because you can blow up their field. Divine Wrath, another great card in the hero. Also, Divine Wrath can negate like a Nightingale if you set this turn 1. Well, not negate it, but yes, it can technically, but it never gets to that point, more or less. But you can start negating like different cards that they activate, like a Warbler or Cobalt and stuff like that. Also, Dynamicious is a great banish if you go up against Bird on Kinkabayu, because if you banish Kinkabayu, then they lose their monster that they summon from the grave. Same as Regeki Break if you pop it. Also, back row gives a Predaplant a lot of issues. That's the way you can beat them. The way you can play it, basically you rely on the 1-card combo. Again, if you haven't seen my last video, basically you summon Salamangreat of Fire, link that off into Duel Links. Special your Gazelle after you search it. Gazelle sends Spinny. Spinny revive, and make Mirage Stalio. Mirage effect, summon out Fennec. Link Fennec off with Duel Links in the Wolf. Search out your Fury of Fire. Then you activate your Sanctuary. Relink in the Wolf first, very important, otherwise you can't add back. And then after that, you go ahead and activate Fury of Fire, summon back Gazelle and Fennec, make your Lion, and then Lion adds back a monster, and then trigger Wolf to add back fire. So that's your 1-card combo. Okay? So again, if you didn't miss that, it's in the description. It'll be in the description below. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Okay. Now, this is, like I said, the trap version. Just basically you're running a bunch of different traps that can support the meta. Like I said before, Dynamishkus is really good against everything. Even not great against Bird going second because everything's just untargetable. But like I said, that's a tough matchup for you anyway. But going first, it's terrific because, again, banishing Cobalt, so that way they can't make everything untargetable. Banishing Kikabayo, very, very good. And then Divine Wrath is really good because you can negate any effects. Roberta Parshat, etc., etc., etc. Very good. Okay. And then Curse Seal is here because if you want to negate extra polys and heroes and whatever not. But, yeah. And then with this build, you just pretty much run a standard extra deck. This is not optimal extra deck, but... Okay. So, the last thing I want to talk about is the mix. And the mix of it is really nothing to be a separate build. It's just a mix of running different techs, some hand traps and some back row and some whatever. Some spells. So you kind of end up with a mix. Here you see techs go in like Dark Hole. And Dark Hole is a very good tech, obviously, because, again, going against hero going second, you could just blow out their field. Again, well, I shouldn't say very good. It's okay. Personally, I don't like Dark Hole. The reason for me is I'd rather play Crosswipe in this situation because it's more valuable to you going first. It could also pop back row. And again, like blowing out their field going second in hero is not really that important because against hero, again, you're going to do that with Pyro Phoenix anyway. So it's irrelevant. The only thing Dark Hole is really strong against is Predaplant because they end on Robin and Drago and you can out them with 1 card. But most likely you can break their board anyway. So given that, I don't think Dark Hole is that relevant. I don't think it's that needed. And I think it's bad in the mirror when they have... It's not bad in the mirror. I shouldn't say it's not bad. It's not bad in the mirror because you force a Phalanx, but you can force 2 Phalanx without having Dark Hole. So keep that in mind. You can force out both Phalanx without having Dark Hole. So you don't necessarily need it. You'd rather, I feel like, have tech space for other things that can help you out going first, like hand traps that can totally stop their plays. So that's why I like hand traps more than I do Dark Hole, but it's not a bad tech. Like, you can run it. It's not bad. Don't think it's terrible. It's okay. I'm saying it's okay, but not, I don't think it's the best tech. Next, you have, again, I talked about this before, Dynamishkus. Again, in a hybrid version, Dynamishkus is still a very good tech card to play because Dynamishkus can just banish any card in the field. You go first, and you don't discard for cost, so if they were to negate it, you don't have to discard anything. Good card to run, good discard card. Again, running traps is kind of a little bit weaker going second, but overall, if you want to play it, definitely not a bad tech. With all the advantage you get. Then again, just to go over a few more techs, I've already kind of talked about this in the trap row, but Divine Wrath, another card you see in the hybrid version. Again, just negates a monster, destroys it. With all the advantage you get, pretty good trap. And you can get this via box chips as well. This is a main box you are. Do not go into the main box if you don't have it to get 3 Dynamishkus. Again, it's not super imperative. You don't need it to play Salad in the slightest. But just an optional tech option that you can play. But yeah, it's optional to play it. But like I said, it's not needed. So don't feel stressed that, oh man, I have to get 3 Dynamishkus to play Salad correctly. Some other text, like you might see, is something like Droll for additional hand traps. This is kind of like a mix of me talking about hybrids and talking about other techs. So Droll could be something you might see. I don't like it. I don't think it's good. I think it's okay in the Salad mirror. You could stop them from searching a Sanctuary, which sometimes could be really good. But again, sometimes if you're going second and let's say you're going second and you draw them, it's not going to matter. Like, the thing is, like, it's good if you go first. It's a better tech if you go first because they're more or less going to have to play it through because they're going to summon fire first. And you need Sanctuary more to go second than you do first. If you go first, you really don't need Sanctuary. Again, we're not playing Master Duel Salad, so you're not trying to set up Raging Phoenix into a massive play. It's all your traps, so it's not really needed. It's more important going second than it is going first. So that being said, I don't think Droll is that worth it. I think you'd just rather play Veil or Corona thing. It's against Bird, it could be valuable. That would be the only argument to me for you to play it, is because against Bird it could be quite good. Because again, if they go to start off with like Bird Call, they search off, then they can't go Recital and they may not have a line to kill you. So if you want more text against Bird, then I could see running Droll. But again, I don't think it's the best going into the mirror. It's only really good if you went first already and they're going second, because sometimes denying them access to Sanctuary could help stop them from killing you. However, keep in mind, as we talk about the Salad Mirror, I'm going to teach you about different lines to killing you, and that's not the only line. So keep that in mind. And there's also anti-Droll lines as well. So keep that in mind. So it's not a guarantee. So like I said, not the best. The hero matchup, it could be quite strong in, because again, if they go Stratos and they search their Liquid or they start out with E, then again, they won't be able to draw any cards, which again is quite strong. But again, it really depends on the matchup you're seeing. It's not a bad tech by any regards, and depending on what matchup you see, in Predaplant it's okay, but sometimes they can play around it, so you gotta be careful with that. Depending on what matchups you see more, it might be worth to include it. I'm not totally exiting the idea of playing Droll, but I do think there is some promise with it, so we might test it out next COG season. But right now, I'm not running it at the current juncture. Just look out, because next season we're going to be doing a day 1 COG with Salads, because I want to go for top 100 this cup. So we definitely want to do that. So we're going to go with a hard day 1 Salad climb. So get ready for that. Okay. So next we are going to play, go over, one more tech. And I think people do try commonly, which is White. White is not, it's okay. It's really, I think this card is win more. And it's terrible in the mirror because it's a link down, beat down battle. So I really wouldn't play it. There's better techs to play in the era. But if you're free to play, it could be a free to play option for you. Just keeping that in note. Okay. With that being said, that covers a lot of tech options. So now you have a broad range of tech options that you can and be willing to play. If you're more on the free-to-play side, you can also run Book of Moon. Again, Book of Moon isn't terrible, isn't awful into the Salad Mirror either, because Book of Moon can flip down Mirage if they go second. I don't think it's great, though, because if you go first, they're going to foul it. But then you can book the foul, so it's okay, unless they send foul by itself. If you set it with additional back row, it can be quite valuable. So if you're on the free-to-play side and you say, I want to use Dream Tickets to get books, then feel free to do that. At Book of Moon, I think it's also in a bundle as well. So if you have free-to-play and you can get books, and you can get like Forbidden Chalice, which isn't bad either. I try to like more lock in on hand traps than I do anything else. Crow is also Dream Ticket worthy. So I do recommend, if I was going to pick up any tech right now that I would consider with a Dream Ticket, it would probably be DD Crow, because I think DD Crow is really good. And then Chalice is another one you would see in some of these hybrid lists. Okay, anyway, now that that's done, we done part A. I want to exit out of this so I can talk about, I want to go back in. So it gives me a clean slate. Now we're going to talk about part B, which is matchups and engine. I should say extra deck. Okay. So now your extra deck. What are you going to be running in the extra deck? That's going to... Now I see a lot of people when they build Salad, they just do that. They go Salamangreat. Alright. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then they go... and then they run Lion, and then Phoenix, and then they're done. So you're not really thinking about your extra deck options. Right? So you don't really think about your extra deck options. Now, this is what a lot of people do. But we're not doing that. I'm going to tell you each individual card that you would play in Salad, and why you play it. And what the benefit is, and what the takeaway is. And the extra deck I would play. Phoenix. Phoenix is very good. I think that there are multiple ways to play. First of all, there is an OTK line in the Salamangreat that I'm going to teach you about. That may encourage you not to want to play Phoenix, because it depends if you're on the Fennec engine or not. I am, because I think it gives you a lot of follow-up, but if you don't play the Fennec engine, you have more room in the extra deck, because then you're not playing Lion Emperor, so to speak. So Phoenix is really good because it can pop it back around the field. I think that the thing with Phoenix, where it becomes the strongest, is that you start seeing a lot of floodgates in the meta, like people starting to run Necro, you're starting to tech it, and you start seeing people detect like anti-floodgates to deal with Salad. Then it could be it's definitely going to be mandatory to play Phoenix, because the essential thing is you can make Phoenix without ever touching the graveyard at that point. And then that's the most important thing, is being able to do that, because you're going to need an answer to out these floodgates. So just keep that in mind. If that's ever being played in any regard, Phoenix will be important to deal with floodgates. And at that point, we're going to want to up it to 3 crosswipe. And then I didn't talk about MST, but you could also play 3 MST as well. So it really depends. If people start playing floodgates to out your Salads, Phoenix will be more worthy. It's not mandatory to play Phoenix, but the nice thing with Phoenix is Pyro Phoenix can be made with it, because it's just 2+ fire effect monsters. So you can make it with Phoenix and a Sunlight Wolf. So making this card very, very good for you to play. Next card I want to talk about is Pyro Phoenix. So we're going to keep online with the Phoenixes, and we're going to go into the Salad extra deck now. Pyro Phoenix is very, very important. You definitely have to play 2 of it. I think it's 100% mandatory, because you want to clear all their monsters. It's a win con. It helps win the mirror match if you steal both the Phalanxes out. So I definitely recommend you play at least 2. I think there is a world where I would play 3. There is a world which you play 3. Now, I'm going to write this down because I think this is very important. See, actually, okay, perfect. Okay, extra deck. So we talked about Phoenix. Now we're on to Pyro Phoenix. I'm gonna put P. Actually, I'm just gonna put Pyro P. Okay, so Pyro Phoenix at least 2 times, 2 to 3. Okay, Phoenix is 0 to 1, depending on what your extra deck looks like. Pyro Phoenix is a 2 to 3 of, and this is absolutely mandatory, because you have to play Pyro Phoenix. Or if you do, because if you don't play Pyro Phoenix, then what ends up happening is your opponent goes absolutely wee, and if you don't play Pyro Phoenix, then you're not going to have your board wipe, and it's really, really good card going second. I know there have been a few lists that don't play it. I think you 100% should, at least 2. I recommend you play 3 if you don't play the, whatchamacallit, OTK. Yeah, if you don't play the Power Code Talker OTK, which we will talk about, then you definitely want to play 3 Pyro Phoenix. But at that point, you have to add in Transcendence, which we'll talk about the advantages of playing Transcendence in a second. But definitely 2 to 3 copies of Pyro Phoenix, depending on what we play. You'll see that more as I discuss the matchups. You go really in depth into choice. Next, we have Hida. Hida is another 0 to 1 of. This card, I think really you should be playing 1 of it. The more I play it, the more I love it. If you go second into the Salad Mirror, this card is fantastic, because it can Reborn Wolf. You can really go off their Wolf with it. It gives you more use to use your Transcendence. It makes Transcendence a lot better, because then you don't have to struggle to get bodies on the field. It basically, like I said, if you revive their Wolf, which they're going to have in the graveyard, you're going to get a free body on the field regardless. So like free Link 2, which cuts down one of the free Link material that you need to use for the combo. So you got to envision it like that. And then you can threaten Pyro Phoenix immediately with Hida and Wolf, which is fantastic. So with that being said, I think you absolutely have to play 1 of them. I get if you won't want to play it, but I really like 1. I do. I do like Kita in the mirror. If you see a lot of mirrors, it's very good. So yeah, I definitely recommend you play one Hita, but you could play none if you really want to. Depends. If you don't see a lot of Salad mirrors, then you can cut it. But if you see a lot, then you should play it, I feel. Next we have this, and this is, I think, a 2 of. I could see some builds wanting to play 1. I get it, but it's a nice 2 of, especially you need to. I'm gonna write a star here as well for this. Especially if you use power code. Very important. Very, very, very important if you use power code. Mandatory 2 of. Further on 4th, next we're going to talk about, well, I don't need to go over Sunlight Wolf and Balex since they're already added, and they're mandatory at 3. So don't even question any of that. Be gracious, it gives it to you. Lion Emperor. I'm going to put Mirage here. Lion Emperor is absolutely not mandatory. I like it because I like the 1-card combo. This is something you use, again, with Fury of Fire. So, you need that for your 1-card line if you go that way. And not going into, like, you know, a Transcendence plus Shell line. You definitely want to play 1 Lion Emperor. In that regard. It's nice. I like it, personally. Mirage is a mandatory 1. Some people play 2. I think 1 is plenty good enough. You're going to recycle it. Now, the nice thing here is, if Lion Emperor stays on the field, you can recycle it, but you can't resummon it. So, I wouldn't recommend you recycle it with Lion Emperor. But the nice thing is you can recycle it with one of your Salamangreat Recurrence, which is really, really good. So, that regard, you can play 1 of it. You could also recycle it with Jack Jaguar. So, keep that in mind. So, in that regard, I would definitely play 1. I don't think 2 is needed. That covers a lot of it. So, I'm going to put another thing down. Chaos Goddess. Well, Underworld Goddess. It's Underworld. So Goddess is very good. Again, I think it's even better if you use FOF, Fury of Fire. Because, again, if you manage to clear their field, it's very strong. Because you got to keep this in mind. This is why I think a lot of people won't see this. Let's say you go and clear their field with Raging Phoenix. Right? Let's say you do that. And then you want to steal whatever body is left on the field. You can go Fury of Fire, make Underworld, and then on their turn, have a negate on any summon that they want to summon out of the graveyard. So if they want to summon something from the graveyard, then Underworld Goddess can negate it. So it can negate one of their extenders, which can help you on the follow-up. Weaken their follow-up. So again, if you play Fury of Fire, I think it's really good to play Underworld Chaos Goddess at that point. I think it's a really good option for you. If not, you could play it. It's optional. Yeah. I don't think I want to go up one more. I want to bring up like one more option to the deck. And that is Power Code. Power Code is, again, something it's 0 to 1 of, and it depends if you want to OTK. And I'm going to talk about this more in depth as we talk about the mirror, but basically you're going to find that double Heat Leo plus having Power Code is game through Fire and Grave, so keep that in mind if you're playing the mirror. So that's something you want to take into account. Okay, that being said, that's your extra deck. If you have any other questions or something I missed, please write below in the comments. Okay, now we're going to talk about matchups. First, okay, how do we beat Hero? Well, very simply, I'm going to write going first what you want to do. I personally love the idea of setting up. Now, there are multiple different things. If you open Benny and slash extender slash spell, Fury of Fire, recur makes your turn 1 stronger. The reason I say this is because your goal here is to survive. If you open up Spinny plus Fury of Fire, your follow-up is going to be beat them on turn 3. The game is to stall on, if you're playing this variant anyway, stall on Lion, Mirage, which you will have a bounce. And Wolf, if they nuke board, summon Gazelle out of hand. Actually, this might be a bit better. Wolf, turn 1. Turn. Then, if they nuke field, Gazelle, Hall Bale, and then also you can float in the Fennec, which is another reason why I like it. Gives you another body. So that's basically what you want to do. Trap version just uses back row. Also possible to play Paro to get extra hand trap protection. Now, what do I negate with text? Stop Rainbow Neos. Priority number 1. You gotta stop Rainbow Neos. Rainbow Neos is the biggest threat to your field, more than anything else will be. This is why I like hand traps. This is why I like Mourner. This is why I like Veiler. Because all those cards stop Rainbow Neos. And I'm gonna tell you this until you're blue in the face. I'm gonna tell you this until you're blue in the face. We're going to go over this again, because I didn't really, it got cut off the screen and I didn't realize it. If you go up against Hero, make sure you Veiler them right when they summon Rainbow Neos. Do not wait for them to activate. Mourner, you have to do it anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant. But the reason why is they could send themselves for cost. If they send themselves for cost, they will board wipe you and you cannot respond to it. Rainbow Neos sends for cost, and it can send itself. So be very careful with that. So the minute they summon it, toggle on, activate Veiler, negate. The most important thing to negate in the hero matchup is Rainbow Neos. So if they go second, they activate the skill. Do not Veiler the Stratos going second. If you Veiler Stratos, they're going to chain Super Volley, and they're going to lift at you like a fool. Don't do it. Now, what would I bounce? What do I bounce in the mirror? How do I bounce in the hero mirror? What do I bounce? Well, if possible, hold for battle phase. You can also bounce Rainbow Neos, which is very good. That's something you generally want to do. Give me 1 second. Let me turn on my light. It's starting to get dark in here. And in a minute, I'm going to go completely black. So, patient for 1 sec. There we go. So, basically, with Rainbow Neos, you want to bounce that if they haven't wiped your back row already with a Stratos. If they have, and they go to wipe the back row, then you can chain bounce Neos if you want to, or bounce a body on the field. Again, I don't think that's really good enough. I think I'd rather just hold it at that point, because if you bounce Neos, you're probably going to fuse with it anyway. You can if you really want to. It's an option if they go Stratos pop to fuse with Neos, or whatever not. If you have multiple negates, then I would negate Sunrise. I almost never negate Stratos because they're going to chain Super Volley to it anyway. So, again, just to note that. Keep as many bodies in rotation as possible. If you're going first in hero, just make sure you survive. Paro is also an option I've considered, because with any 2-card line, I could get Paro back to my hand. which again could also help me survive. So I could add it back with Lion turn 1 or add it back with Wolf turn 1. And then Paro gives me an extra body to survive that turn, which again, it's all about surviving. We're not trying to make the biggest board possible because this is a break a board meta. So you got to be very aware of that, and you got to know how heroes going to attack you. And they could very well hold Super Poly in their hand. So keeping as many bodies as possible, getting to turn 3. Hopefully, in a good all-engine hand, you have reoccurrence, which is great because that will give you back Fire and Gazelle on the follow-up, and then really allow you to explode into Pyro and whatever not. A tech I've also considered for the hero matchup is Transcendence, and that's if I'm going to a 3 Pyro Phoenix route, because some of them do play the Life Barrier, where Transcendence would come up is if they play Life Barrier, then you could set Transcendence for the turn after, and then have a pop with Pyro if they have already wasted their Super Poly to try and kill you. That's something you want to take into account. So, but anyway, that's turn 1 with Hero. Alright? Now, if you're playing the Trap version, then you're going to want to Divine Wrath the Strat. Then you can Divine Wrath Stratos if they go to pop your back row, because Divine Wrath can't be responded to, so you can't change Super Poly to that. And then Deal Ceiling, you just blow up their monsters and pretty much go from there. Alright, so that's Hero. Now next, I'm going to go back to going second. So I talked about going first, I want to talk about going second. I'm going to go over the meta matchups here. I'm not going to go over every matchup in the game, but we're going to go over what you're going to see most commonly. Second. This is very important. Second, you immediately want to check your hand. If your hand has all engine, immediately set foul with skill. Or a good amount of engine. This will help deal with back row. Also, optional, to get armed to get Bale Engrave first, so they cannot pop you. So yeah, another option too is to go, and I think this is probably better to do it this way, the more I think about it, is get Balanx in the grade first. It really depends. Like, it depends what their field looks like, but you can get Balanx, like if they only have like 1 or 2 back row, then you may just want to put it on the field. Well, no, I would still get Bale Engrave first, yeah. So if you get Bale Engrave first, that's probably better. And if depending if you already have text to deal with the Arm Dragon, like if you draw a Droplet and you could just deal with Arm Dragon and just do it, then you could just negate it and they could just foul away. But if they have the Arm Dragon on the field and they're threatening to pop the foul, get Bale in the grave first, because then you could just start sending away all their back row and also protect Sank. Which gives me to my next note, to not use Sank until Bale protects. So very, very important, do not use Sank until Bale protects. This is the most common lethal light, so you don't have to think about it. Pyro Phoenix, this is what I want you guys to know. Be it day and hack before Sean spells Phoenix. Jag is lethal. That's all you need to know. Once you get to that combination, you already have game. So you blow up their field, and that threatens game. That's all you want to get to. Use Heat Leo Phoenix to deal with back row. And then I'm trying to think of another really big. I should know. Force Super Poly as early as possible. Oh, another good note. If you're going second, only if you're going second, Veil of Stratos. This is what I prefer. Some people tell you to Veil of Sunrise, but I like Veil of Stratos if I go second. Because the thing is, if you Veil of Stratos, obviously you want to Sunrise, but the nice thing about Veil of Stratos is you're always going to, if you deny their search, you, on the off chance that they don't have liquid in a hand already, you're always going to get value that way. And if your main thing is like if they build a board, you're just gonna blow it up. But you really want to stop them from finding their techs, especially if they start running like weird techs. Like if they start playing like Hollowed and Necro Valley, then you're not gonna want them to find it. I don't know if a hero is gonna play Necro Valley, but they definitely play Hollowed, so that's something you want to know. Mainly also for the bird matchup too, because how Life Barrier allows them to survive the turn against bird, keep Super Poly in the hand, and then draw phase priority, get rid of Super Poly. So yeah, that's just something you want to do. But yeah, that's pretty much what you want to focus on. So keep that in mind. Also, one other note. Helio is great to get rid of back row. Alright, next. So that's hero. So there you go. Boop. Next. Alright. Birds. Bird is complex. Not gonna lie. You need text to win this. As text, droplet, bro. Droll. Droll. So, common bird line. So, like their one card Warble line, one card Canary that you're gonna see. Inkabayo. 2 card lines, which is basically Warbler, Canary, plus gray, brown, blue. So again, these are common bird lines that you'll see, but all of these lines play into draw and lock. So very, very important to know that. So that's why Droll, like I said, if there's a lot of bird in the KC Cup, then play Droll. Then Droll, I could see Droll being really good. So that's something you want to know. So again, Crow is also really good because crowing the brown on a grave. That's what you need to really slow them down. Because again, them getting the Nightingale, especially crowing the brown, is really good because they can't make Nightingale untargetable. That means you can get rid of it. Unless they thrust you first. Also, set 3 if you can, because it makes it harder for them to thrush. Okay, so set 3 if you can. That tries to help protect Droplet. What else is important here? Summon your Exceeds in defense. You don't need to give them free stalling damage. So if you go for the 1 card line, make sure all the Exceeds are in defense here. Because otherwise you're going to just give free damage. It's pointless. Remember, Lion only has 200 defense. Barrage is 900. So there's no reason to put these in attack mode. Don't give them free 2k damage. Alright, with that, he had to look like a fool. Also, another key note. And unironically, this is really good. This is where it comes up. Sanctuary can give you life points. So, this is something you won't think about, but if they swing into your Exceeds and like defense, you can activate Sanctuary's effect and then gain life. So, I just turned this off and I've typed this in for you guys. Sanctuary During damage calculation, if your monster battles, so if they attack your Xyz to try to use that to get lethal, you can reduce your link, make it 0, and then gain life points. Which again, you really don't care if your monster's 0, you're just trying to survive. So keep that in mind. Now. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's the bird going first. Droplet, if you can, pitch spell. Always a good idea. So they can't chain Droplet to survive, sending their monster's course. Or Lance, if they randomly play a Lance. Just always a good idea. Also send monster, obviously. If they if they don't shotgun Nightingale, because that's something they could do. They could just hold it and see what you do first. Again, Crow. Not really much to talk about. Krail, Veiler, and Warner. Very important here. Good. I would Veiler the Gray, which is Celestine. Because that gives them the easiest route to OTK. That's something you could do. They can OTK with Canary plus Sapphire plus Celestine. But it makes it slightly more situational. Droplet, Robin, biggest concern. And there you go. That's pretty much what you want to do against Bird. Capiche? Kaboosh. Also, one more note. Ning Nightingale is out. I didn't talk about Ning, but definitely Ning is something you want to consider for Nightingale. So just keep that in mind. Okay. But I think Bird is the toughest matchup. Next is the Mirror. Okay. So you got to be pay very, very close attention, because this is how you're going to win the Mirror and not time out. I believe all links in defense. I mean, not all links in defense, I mean. All exceeds in defense. And try and clear your link so you don't get power code OTK'd. Also, keep double bail engrave if possible. You could do this on the 1-card line if you substitute the second relinked wolf. So if you wait for the following turn and you substitute it, you could do it on the 1-card line. All 2-card lines do it. The reason why you want double bail in the grave, full bail helps if they don't have Hita, protect against Pyro better. Now, again, I'm going to teach you some really cool tricks if you play Salad. Okay? This is very, very important. You got to understand this. Alright? So, I want to go a little bit more in depth. So, I like to have everything in defense. Because again, with 2 Phalanxes in the grave, the reason why is, like I said, if they don't play Hita, they have to rip both Phalanxes out of the graveyard, depending on the way that they're going to kill you. Keep in mind, they can double Pyro Phoenix you, which is another reason why I'm considering playing Pyro. Because if they go double Pyro Phoenix, I'm going to write this more down. I'm going to go further now. Pyro can help because in a double Pyro Phoenix situation, you can buy. So if you go double Pyro Phoenix, that it can give you a route to survive because it'll give you another body summon at the end. Because what will happen is they'll Pyro Phoenix you the first time after ripping your Phalanxes. And then they'll clear your Gazelle. Because you'll summon Gazelle out of the hand. And then they'll go clear your second one. And then you won't have another body in hand. And after they do the second Phoenix, they can OTK you at that point. And then you find yourself struggling to survive. This is a very rare situation. But if you have Pyro, then you can pretty much dodge dying in that situation. That's something also important. Circle is nice too. Again, that's a rare situation. So you're most likely going to survive anyway. But Circle is nice too because you can protect one of your monsters from being nuked by Pyro. Then, on Gazelle Summon, then Falco resets Circle. Also, you could set your currents that maybe you used turn 1, recycled, and then if they Pyro, they have to give you Circle. Remember, if they activate Pyro Phoenix, then they have to destroy every card in the field. So in a case like that, they must blow up Recurrence. So in that case, they're guaranteed research a Circle. You're gonna get belt values out. The next turn, recur the Recurrence back with a Relinked Wolf. Also, if you go for the 2-card line, instead of adding on Jag, there's a lot, I know. I would keep Relink Wolf with Jag. Keep Sank in hand. The reason why is because if you keep Sank in hand, they can't blow it up and you can use it because you're only going to really care about Sank for OTKing on the follow-up. So that's something very important that you want to take into account. So again, this is ways you don't want to die. So again, this is how you're going to win the mirror match. Okay? In my opinion. So keeping Sank in the hand is really good. Resetting the Circle is also really good. That's something you can totally do. I love that. Definitely do that play. Keeping Circle set. Also, I love in the mirror match setting the Recurrence, because if they blow up Recurrence, you're guaranteed Circle in the follow-up. They're not going to be able to nuke you without getting rid of Recurrence. So keep that in mind. Alright. That's going first. Also, hand trapping in the mirror match. I never gone over going second. A lot to cover here. Veiler. How do I use Veiler? On Mirage. You have two. Gazelle. And Mirage. Mourner. On Gazelle. On Mirage first. Then Gazelle. Or if you go first, can hold for Pyro. However, it's risky. They can circle, protect Pyro. Or actually, however, I want to note this as well. You may, and this is weird, it's going to come out weird when I say this, choose to negate the first Pyro effect, revive, cause the relink will be useless. It won't get a body and cannot protect with circle. Also, will be odd if they decide to dodge with Burning Shell. So very, very important. This is what I think you should be doing. I think that's how you want to be doing Veiler and Mourner in that situation. Also, Veiler accounts for the Pyro Phoenix play as well. So keep that in mind. So that applies to Veiler and Mourner. Throw on Spinny. Sometimes, if they activate Jag, you bounce Pyro, banish Pyro. You can also opt banish it before Shell. Okay. Roll. Always on fire. To prevent tank search. That's pretty much obvious. Or on circle if it's the first thing they do. If they're smart, they'll activate in the draw phase or in response to fire. Okay, now I'm going to go on. Moving forward. Very important. Going second. Hold circle if possible. Because it could help to protect Pyro Phoenix from Veiler if they are not smart. Okay, so keep that in mind. Again, in the Salad matchup, I would like to get Phalanx in the grave because there is Divine Wrath. That way, if they Divine Wrath, Bale and Grave plays around Divine. Because if they have Divine Wrath and they negate it, then you just banish Bale, and then Val can activate multiple times per turn, so you don't really care. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Or should I say Prob as well. Okay. Also going second, try and clear their field. Fury of Fire is good here because you can establish multiple bodies to follow up on and make it harder for them to kill you. Okay, so there's that in a nutshell. Okay, perfect. All right, so there's that. Also, going second, time hand traps, as I said before. Try and shut down shell. I'm extending. Do mirage bounce. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Ning is not that important. You can Fury of Fire into Underworld as well, which is very strong. And you can do that with just having Wolf on the field. That's something you want to keep note of. So if you just have like Sunlight Wolf on the field, you could do that, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So that's really good. So yeah, so those are just different routes. That's how you play the mirror match, by the way. Okay? So that's the mirror match in a nutshell. Alright. I'm gonna go over two more things. One of them is gonna be short, one of them may be a little bit descriptive, but no longer is that. Predaplant. And I'm gonna write a note here. I'm gonna write plus because I think it's in our favor. I think Predaplant's in the favor of Salamangreat because I think there's a lot more ways for that you to deal with Robin, including cross wipe. Your hand traps will also make it harder for them to make Robin. The more you hand trap them, it's not going to be easy for them to make Robin. And they're only going to have a 2-mat, so you might be able to deal with it regardless. But Robin gets a bit annoying, but again, like I said, you have a lot of tech cards that could block, make it harder for them to make Robin. So just keep that in mind. Or to stop it altogether, like drop it in. Cross wipe because it's targetable. Now, next, Predaplant. Turn 1. Go into your normal setup. I feel everything in defense. And clear your link as fast as possible. To avoid starving Venom. Also, you're aiming to survive. If they sack Mirage with Hydra, you don't care. Some builds are trying Neos Fusion to hold and negate if possible, or bounce if they haven't cleared it. Okay, also very important, and I'm not going to write this down because it's getting way too large now. If you go up against the Predator matchup, very important is that if you link off Mirage, they can't negate that with Dragostapelia. That can't happen. Because that activates in the graveyard. So, whatever they make Dragostapelia, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't care. It's like Mayakashi. Once it's in the graveyard, that's it. You activate the graveyard, which is very, very broken. So, that's what you want to focus on turn 1. It's just all about survival. Just get as many buys in rotation. Fennec Float helps. And then on turn 3, I'm going to write this down. This is going to be turn 3 by that point. Focus on going into Pyro / Heat Leo to clear. Recycling Plant, and Onyx. That gets rid of all their follow-up. If they end on Sarah and you can't OTK through it, then hold. Then don't kill Sarah to avoid free counter. That's also an option. So keep that in mind. Going second, I'm going to discuss this. I'm just going to discuss it because it's getting large. Going second, you want to hold Droplet and Crosswipe to deal with Robin. That's the biggest threat. If you could deal with that using your Veiler and hand traps, how would you want to Veiler or Crow them? Always Veiler and Ambular Melodies is my #1 priority if you have multiple. Then Veiler on Darling Tony or Cobra as you stop them from getting to their fusion. After that, Crow is really good when they activate, if they activate Predaplant. You could also, if they go, if they activate Scorpio to discard Biblis for cost, then you could Crow that. But I generally like to Crow on the whatever they try to summon, or if they try to revive back the Amulet from the graveyard. But most of the time you want to Crow. Look at how many level 1s are in the graveyard and try to stop them from going Robin. Otherwise, Veiler on the targets that I said, and more of the same. As those targets like the Darling Tony and the Amulet are special summon. So keep that in mind. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So that's basically that. Okay. So going second, what you want to do, like going forward, Droplet and Crosswipe immediately to deal with their Robin. Once you deal with that, you're playing the game. Try to go into as many. Heat Leo is very good in this matchup because you want to deal with their back row, and also going into setting up your Pyro Phoenix to clear. If you could hold Circle, if they hold like a Veiler hand, holding Circle to ensure that your Pyro Phoenix goes off, or even a Burning Shell, is very, very good. They don't set a ton of back row. Most of their back row's on the field because most of it's going to be Ponyx or Recycling Plant to protect whatever they had going for them on the field. So if you can do that, that's very good. Probably going to ask me, how do I force out a monster negate? Again, if they have Drago on the field, like I said, Burning Shell dodges Drago Stapelia, so keep that in mind. You could also run text like Security Dragon, which I didn't go over, but Security Dragon is a way to out Drago Stapelia as well. So that's something that you may want to consider. So again, if you open a Droplet, you can negate Drago too, but it's just like, if you open a Crossbite, you want to be dealing with Robin all the time. So that's just something you want to keep in mind. Okay, so that's going second into Predator. And like I said with Sarah, I talked about what you want to do with Sarah. Is sometimes you want to leave it on the field. Depends on what you have on the field or in hand. Also, another way you can force up the monster negate too is with Mirage Stalio. I didn't talk about that. But Mirage is also really good to force that said monster negate. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. So like Mirage can bounce Dragon Stapelia and threaten it going second. So that's also a play. So keep that in mind. Capiche? Capuche. Alright, next. Next we want to talk about. Oh, one other thing is that against Predator, you may not want to set Foul of the deck going second, because if they want to Drago negate your Gazelle, then you might want to set Spitty, so that way you can go with the Mirage, and they can't really stop you at that point. So that's just one thing. They can negate Drago and make it they can negate Gazelle and make it a 1, but then you already have a 3 in rotation, so it's a little bit easier at that point. Just as a note, you might want to keep in mind. Always make sure you're aiming to get Foxy. Actually, you can even go Foxy out of the deck as well. Foxy's really good because then you pop their cards while you're at it. This is another reason why I like 3 Spitty and 3 Circle to make sure I get the 3s in rotation. Always threaten Mirage. Just something you can do. So just keep that in mind. Okay, next. Next we have Shaddoll. And this one I'm just going to talk as briefly as possible. Turn 1... the best turn 1 is to play Transcendence, I feel, but if you don't play it, what you want to do is just like I said, survive. Mourner and Droplet to negate Winda on the follow-up. If you're going turn 1, hold Droplet in hand. Very important. because you don't want to get sacked on turn 3, on turn 2. You don't want them to pop it with Dragon and you have no out to the window on the next turn. So it's better to hold it in hand, and then next turn you just out the window. Because that's going to be the main reason they stop you from OTKing. Foxy out Schism in the long run. Now, how do you Veiler Shaddoll? Veiler Hedgehog? Don't Veiler Construct. You can also Veiler Alistair. Especially if you don't see a delay. If you see a delay, then I wouldn't. Well, then they force it with Mecha, but I guess you have to. Mourner on Hedge, but they summon out of the deck. Actually, no, that won't work. Mourner on Construct. No, you can. Never mind. Yeah. And then Crow if they said Schism in the grave. The best. Troll on Rilliona. If they summon it, or Alistair. Or play Meltdown. And going second is like, you gotta hope to open up a tech to deal with them. Otherwise, you're not gonna really outwin the. You gotta hope to open up like Droplet or stop them from getting the wind at that point. Droplet's good. If they only end on Schism and no El Shaddoll, then Crosswipe can also help. Because remember, they can't do it till main phase Schism. So if you set a body out of the deck, then you have the ability, the priority to Crosswipe first. So that's what you want to keep in mind. So again, Crosswipe Droplet can help here. Also Mourner as well. So there's a lot of techs that you can do that. You win that, and then you OTK from there. Okay, so those are the matchups. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, Transcendence is a card that you could be on and off of playing. I didn't really talk about it, but Transcendence is a really good card if you want the 3 Pyro Phoenix. So like I said, if you're playing 3 Pyro Phoenix, then Transcendence is really good. I also didn't talk about this. Before I end the video, I want to talk about this. Okay? I want to talk about Pyro Phoenix in retrospect to Power Code. I didn't go too in-depth with this, but I want to go over this one more time. Okay, so basically, there is a differentiation here. If you want lethal against Sal, one play you could do, and if they're not ready for it, and I talked about the matchup, is you could summon Hita, steal their fire. Then what you do is you make your Heat Leo, and then you make a Power Code below it. And then what you do is you co-link, because Power Code points left and right. You co-link the Power Code with the Heat Leo. Do not give them back fire. And then with your Power Code Talker, you then can reduce their Wolf to 0, and then activate Heat Leo, and Heat Leo, reduce them to 500, and then Power Code boost. The problem with this line, and the reason why I don't like it, is because of Circle. If they're smart and they set Circle, that ends the line. Doesn't matter if you deal with it early, because if you deal with it early, then what ends up happening is to just make it unaffected anyway. Like if you go foul, disrupt Circle, then they make it unaffected. So more am I in line to play 3 Pyro Phoenix if I want to play Transcendence anyway. I think I like that a lot more personally, but it's something to consider. Another thing with this line that's actually good is it can play around Saracenian as well. So like if you go around against Saracenian, then they have a Predator monster in the field, you can kill them without them getting to Sarah. So that's something you might want to keep in mind here. This line could be good against Predator, but if they don't, they're not always going to have Circles, so this still might be worth it anyway. But just keep in mind that it's a little bit vulnerable to Circle at that point. But yeah, all right. But that's about that. That's my video. If you liked it, like, comment, sub. And yeah. Thank you guys. Help us get to 1,400. That's the next goal. Day 1 cock line coming with Salad. So if you want to see that, again, we're going to see a lot of Salad Beerus. So you get first class experience how to play it. Make sure you're there. I do have a few cock lines planned before the end of the month. Until next time, Sean Matrai signing out. Peace. Bye, YouTube.